What did you make of Rachel Reeves's budget?
Oh, I thought it was just all the wrong choices, sadly.
Yeah.
You know, putting up taxes on hardworking people, with this extension of the income tax threshold freeze, which is something that she basically said she wouldn't do. She ruled it out, if you remember, at the budget last year, saying it would hit working people, and that's exactly what she's done. And quite a lot of the spending, of course, is just going into the welfare budget, so more on benefits. I think they're the wrong choices. I think what she should have done is to concentrate on getting government spending down, to allow both herself to bear down on the debt a bit, but equally to cut taxes to get the economy growing.
Okay, but if we're being fair, the markets have reacted favourably to it. Stocks have risen, so has the pound. So success?
Well, look, you can't judge a budget within 24 hours of it happening. You've got to wait and see how it pans out. I think that's the first point. But the second
tell Liz Truss that.
Okay, all budgets are different. But anyway, I think that's generally the rule. I would wait and see a little bit.
Okay.
I think a few other things I'd say. One is, I think, you know, when it comes to what actually happened in the sequencing up to the actual budget, all this shenanigans around leaking stuff and flying so many kites, it was blocked the sun out of the sky, right, from the Treasury.
Yeah.
I think that unsettled the market. So I think the very fact that we finally arrived at a point where we knew what was happening was a kind of settling effect in itself. But that doesn't mean the decisions taken within it are the right ones. And I think there will be pressure further on down the line, because she's back-ending a lot of the pain, these tax rises, nearer to the next general election, while front-ending some of the spending, particularly on benefits and so on. And I think the markets will be looking very closely through the shorter to medium term as to whether she can deliver on the plan that she set out. And I have my firm doubts on that. But let's see how it plays out over the coming weeks.
Okay. But what message does this send to working people? People are calling this the benefit budget.
Yeah,
and as you say,
it sends the wrong message entirely. Look, economics is about redistribution of resources to a degree, okay, and that is very much the socialist way. But it is also about incentives, okay? And if you make it harder and more expensive to employ people, you will generate higher unemployment, lower wages, you know? If you put benefits more generous, then you will have a greater incentive for people to stay on or go on to benefits. Yeah. And I'm afraid that's what we're seeing. There's no overarching strategy in this budget that's to do with growth. There's no big idea around tax reform or getting public spending under control or getting welfare down or anything like that. Yeah. It's simply another slug of tax increases on top of the 40 billion we had back in October of last year. So no wonder, if you look at all the forecasts around the OBR that we saw yesterday, growth down, inflation up, living standards, what economists call real disposable household income, worse than it was forecast the last time it was forecast back in the spring. So all those indicators pointing in the wrong direction, I'm afraid.
Is it fair to criticise her and say, well, she lied. She said no to taxes. She now raised taxes. Don't you all lie, essentially? All the parties say before they get to power, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then once you're actually there, maybe you fall short sometimes.
Look, I think there are certain moments in your political history where you make a solemn commitment, and I think a manifesto is an example of that. And I think if you say in a manifesto, as I believe Labour did, that they would not be increasing tax on working people, and you promptly go off and do that, particularly given that Rachel Reeves actually repeated that commitment back at the time of the last budget. She said she wasn't going to freeze these income tax thresholds because it would otherwise affect working people. She then goes and does it. I think that is of a particular order of breaking a promise, which means that I actually think, and so does Kemi, that she should consider her position.
So you wanted to resign?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the straightest answer you've given.
No, and I don't go around. I think in my political career, I can't remember probably ever having gone around saying that I think people should resign. Some people say that about everybody they ever meet in politics, you know. I don't, but I think it's so serious now. And I think the breach of trust and the broken promises and what has happened as a consequence to our economy and for the livelihoods of millions of people. And many businesses, I'm up and down the country seeing and visiting businesses very regularly, at all sizes. You know, I'll go to a Billericay High Street I was in the other day, going in and out of, you know, the local hairdressers and all the rest of it. They have been crucified by these national insurance increases, absolutely crucified, business rates and things. These are livelihoods at stake, and these things don't happen by accident. They are the choices that this Chancellor has taken. And remember when they were in opposition, they said, don't worry. It's not Labour of old. We're not going to be ramping up people's taxes left, right and centre.
Yeah.
But within a few short months, that's precisely what they did. And I don't think that is forgivable, actually.
Okay. She lifted the 2-child benefit cap. How much is that really going to cost taxpayers?
About £3 billion a year. So it's a lot of money. A lot of money. So if you think that all that pain that's being delivered by the income tax freeze on the thresholds are going to drag about 1.5 to 2 million people into paying more tax than they otherwise would have done to a higher tax band, that raises about 8 billion. So 3 of that, half that pain or thereabouts, is going directly into that one policy. And I don't think it's fair that if somebody is a hardworking taxpayer, goes out, does the right thing, wants to have a larger family, they have to take difficult decisions around whether they can afford to have a large family.
Yeah.
And I don't see why those on benefits should not have to take similar decisions or should expect the taxpayer to pick up the tab.
I tell you, I'm doing very well, and there's been lots of whisperings this week, particularly because of that budget.
Go on, get straight into it.
Okay, well, it was a benefit budget and a complete betrayal of working people. You'll also see that it's the socialists now that have won the battle in the Labour Party, and it's going to take the country back to benefit Britain, and it's introducing the politics of envy again. It was anti-aspiration, anti-success, anti-business, anti-farmers. It was a war on social mobility, and that's how it is viewed.
So you say this budget was a betrayal of working people. In what sense?
Because before the election, people will say Keir Starmer lied. And that's how he won the election. He said, I will not be taxing working people. Absolutely, I won't. In fact, they were wanting to reduce the tax on working people. It wasn't just Starmer saying that. Obviously, Rachel Reeves said that. Wes Streeting said that. Darren Jones said that. They all said, we are for working people. And what have they done instead? They have taxed them to the hilt. They said maybe they'd do £6.8 billion worth of tax. We're at 68 billion and counting. And they're forcing about 680 million workers into the basic rate of tax, nearly 1 million into the upper rate of tax, and 4,000 into the additional tax. It has been an absolute betrayal. Now, you will have seen what went on at the budget. We all watched that agog, didn't we? I know it had all been leaked and briefed, and there had been kite flying, and then obviously the Office of Budget Responsibility put it out as well. But there were cheers at 2 main points during this budget. Cheers for the removal of the 2-child benefit cap and cheers for the mansion tax. But later, the bit you didn't see, and this is where the PLP, the Parliamentary Labour Party, have their meeting, which Rachel Reeves went to, there was huge cheers again at those 2 points. And this is where I'll tell you, and when I say the Labour Party is not New Labour, it is not Blue Labour, it is now Corbyn's Labour. And
How so?
well, I'll explain. If you remember, only 16 months ago, there were 7 rebels, all who wanted the removal of the 2-child benefit
Zara
cap.
Sultana being the biggest one
Okay,
there.
so you have Richard Bergen, you have John MacDonald, you had Ian Byrne, Rebecca Long-Bailey, Apsana Begum, Imran Hussain and Zara Sultana Wright. And they are all Corbynistas. Now, at the time, they lost the whip.
Yeah.
This was not what Reeves and Starmer wanted to do. They did not want to remove that cap, and they were hoping, if you remember, to make £5 billion of savings within the growth of the benefit bill. They didn't. It is now Labour policy. So it is quite interesting that Corbyn isn't in the party, and yet it is those 7 Corbynistas who've shifted the dynamics, basically, of the Labour Party, 400 of their MPs, to do their bidding. And that's why I say it is now the party of the hard left, the far left, the socialist left, even though Corbyn and Zara have left to set up their new political party. But that is what they've left behind. Why? Because when he was leader, a lot of those people would have been selected as potential candidates to be the MP at the next general election. And also the membership fundamentally changed to become Corbyn-style members. And that's why that shift is now reflected in, and, you know, basically Reeves and Starmer collapsed. Whatever they wanted to do, they didn't. Remember, Starmer's always said, but put country before party. They didn't. They've put party before country. In fact, they've put their survival, and it was always going to be, was this going to be a survival budget for both Starmer and Reeves? And yes, it was. So basically, they threw all the principles out for themselves. Anybody with absolutely any credibility, anything about them would have said, this isn't where we're going to go, and we're going to have the battle. And they have had the battle, and they've lost.
Wow, this is why it's good having you on the show, because we don't see any of this stuff on TV, or the numerous TV shows with all the politicians going on there. But literally 2 months ago, maybe even less than 2 months ago, people were saying Labour have swung so far to the right, they're trying to out-reform reform. And now from the budget, it feels like they've gone fully to the far left again.
Yeah. What happened there? I think Starmer, what he did see is, which is true, hemorrhaging their votes to reform, particularly in seats they wouldn't expect to. So in parts of North Liverpool, in St Helens, Wigan, Bolton. So he's seen that we're losing votes here to reform. So he tried to do that speech, didn't he, on immigration.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, because it went absolutely sort of belly up with his MPs, he tried to say, oh, I hadn't read the speech before, I delivered it. Oh, I didn't realise it had echoes of Enoch Powell. I didn't realise this. So he did a U-turn. So when he's tried to do something, he hasn't been able to deliver it because his party hasn't let it. I will also say it's been very lazy politics and policy forming, because he shouldn't be just doing it that day with the speech.
Yeah.
The full time he was in opposition, he should have been setting the narrative for where he was wanting to go. He doesn't. And that's why, again, they did so much kite flying now for everything. The party brings them to heel every time.
Yeah.
And they're not doing the hard work to get a policy through. They haven't thought it through. And that's why they've lost.
I don't feel like a hellraiser today. I feel beaten.
Really?
I feel beaten down having just listening to the idiot Reeves deliver that chopper catastrophic budget. I was listening to her then. It's like she lives in an alternative universe, isn't it? I mean, you and me were just watching it on the telly before there. And she's talking about the £22 billion hole that the Tories created. Hello, that's gone up to between 30 and 50 billion. A lot of estimates are 50 billion. But she's still blaming the Tories. She's still blaming Brexit. She's talking about, she's going, I promised that, I would keep inflation down. Hello, it's gone up by at least, nearly 2% now. It's like she doesn't know what's happening. And across from the Tory benches, they were screeching at her, screaming and waving their papers, because she's literally talking tosh. She's not talking the reality of what her government has done and what these latest moves are going to do. But the best part is not just being what she said, but she also said she was going to cut NHS waiting list. That hasn't happened. And she's talking about putting Britain on a secure footing. It's never been on a more insecure footing, thanks to her and what she's done. But the best part about it was, so she was happy to get all these figures out about growth and how growth was going to grow. It's going to be fantastic. Anyway, the Office for Budget Responsibility today, I don't know whether it was a mistake or whether they did it on purpose to do her in. They released all their predictions on what her, all her decisions, all her policies are going to do. And they're catastrophic. They're saying there's going to be no growth at all. Let me just read you some of the figures. They've downgraded growth from in 2006 from 1.9% to 1.4%, from 1.8 to 1.5 in 2028, and 1.7 to 1.5 in 2029. So everything she has said about growth and what's going to happen is tosh. The OBR have said it's not happening. They've also said that she's going to. They put out lots of stuff about the cut in fuel duty is going to remain in place, but it's almost like they released these facts to stuff her up, because at least when she's delivering the budget, she has a chance to pretend like it's all going to be okay.
Yeah,
but they've actually said, right, off from the off, no, it's not going to be okay. This is going to put us at the point. One of the things, debt will rise from 95% of GDP this year to 96.1% by the end of the decade. She said that wasn't going to happen. The debt was going to go down. So it's not. It's going to go rocketing up. But what has been confirmed is
a lot of the stuff that we already knew, that this mansion tax is coming into place. So households...
You're screwed. You've got 3 mansions.
Well, no, I've got one house that
Is it a mansion?
It's not a mansion. It's a semi-detached, but because it's in London, because I've had it for years, it's not at the 2 million threshold, but it's not far off. But what that means basically is I'm going to be paying double council tax.
Yeah.
My house price will probably go down because people who do have houses with 2 million or more are going to lower them. So people in my bracket are going to have to lower ours. But it also means, and I think this is really important for people to understand, that council tax is supposed to be about services given to the people in the area. This is not about services. This is actually this is another form of tax, and a big tax. For people who are going to be hit by this, it's going to be $4,500 extra a year.
Yeah.
Now that is huge. I mean, even if they put a half a pence on income, or a penny on income tax, it wouldn't be that much a year.
Yeah.
But this is catastrophic for people, because a lot of people who have those houses. I mean, my house, they say it's not there yet. It could have been in 3 or 4 years, but I've had that house for 30 years. So I'm not cash rich, and I suppose I'm asset rich, and I'm not going to sell my house because Rachel Reeves says I have to. But that's going to hit a lot of those people.
Yeah, some people will have to sell their houses and downgrade somewhere smaller.
They completely will. And it's going to filter all the way down, because people with houses worth 1.1, they're going to be worth 900 now, and all the way down to the bottom. So this is going to completely scupper the housing market. I mean, I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, the mansion tax won't apply to me. Well, it will. I'm afraid it will, because it is going to filter down. But it's ironic, she has been saying, she said, listen to me, when she got into government, I am not going to put up taxes for working people. And here she has billions, 28 billion, was it 26 billion quid's worth of new taxes.
The highest we've had in 70 years for working people.
And, and she was the one slating the Tories for it being the highest level 3 years ago. She scrapped the 2-child benefit cap.
Yeah.
That's going to cost $3 billion on the welfare bill. But more importantly, that means that families with 6 kids or more, all of those families are going to get an extra £14,000 a year. I mean, I resent paying for people to have children who can't afford them. If we all know families who, sensible, hard-working families who don't have more than 2 kids because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have certain people, and I'll guarantee it isn't people who are in work, it'll be people who don't work, who will have 4, 5, 6 kids that they can't afford. And the likes of the rest of us, working and middle-class people are going to have to pay for it.
Rachel Reeves, the OBR are going to downgrade growth forecasts for every year of this parliament. She's going to drag an estimated 9 million people into paying higher rates of income tax by freezing thresholds. She's expected to hit 100,000 properties with mansion tax. I'm okay with that. I don't live in a mansion, so I'm okay with that. Pensioners are going to be £800 a year worse off if she extends the income tax threshold freeze. This means around 9.3 million, or just over 3/4 of all pensioners, paying tax, compared to 8.7 million today. And she's planning to raise taxes through targeting international students at our universities. Again, I'm okay with that. I think they should pay more for your international student. I don't care about that. What are your thoughts, Belinda?
Oh my God. Well, Churchill once said that socialism is the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. It is the distribution of misery. And I'm afraid the Labour budgets completely sum this up in an absolute nutshell. We are trillions of pounds worth in debt, paying 100 billion every year just in interest. And Rachel Reeves thinks it's a great idea to spaff away £15 billion more on more welfare giveaways. I mean, this is dangerous economics for our country. This budget should all be about stimulating growth, cutting taxes and moving money around, especially because the Brits see so much of our tax money going out to foreign countries, to foreign nationals. 500 migrants are signing on to benefits every single day. 1.3 million foreign nationals have signed up to universal credit. These are the kind of areas I think that would be fair on the Brits to see being slashed. Then this punitive taxation, which is all that Labour knows how to do. Punish, punish, punish. And all they're going to do is benefit people who work in the public sector or those already on benefits. Everyone else in between. For example, the mansion tax you brought up, and you said you were okay with it because it doesn't affect you.
I don't own a mansion. None of my friends own mansions, so we're fine.
Politics of envy, again, from the left. Listen, I rent. I don't own a property, but I think this would be a disaster. I think it would cause absolute havoc in the property market as people rush to sell because it's a reoccurring taxation. So if your property is worth £2 million or more, you may think, oh, well, stuff the rich, stuff them. But a lot of older people bought houses, through their hard work at much, much less, and it's not their fault the prices have increases. They're going to be forced to move or have to pay between £5,000 and £20,000 every year on this wealth tax, and there'll be rushed sales. In France and Spain, actually, this tax was tried out, and it reduced property prices by 15% on the affected houses. Then you've got all the admin around it. How do you value property? It goes up and down all the time. There'll be challenges. The bureaucrats that have to be employed to manage this wealth tax are going to be insane. And I don't think it will raise enough money. But it's all ideological from Labour. We saw it with them putting VAT on private schools that have pushed 25,000 children into state classrooms, overburdening the teachers. Have you seen any more new teachers that were supposed to be employed by this, gain? No, absolutely not. Same with non-doms. We've got the Mittal family leaving now. That's the 7th richest family in Britain. They are running a mile. 250,000 Brits left last year. That is the only thing that's, I kind of think, go for it. But I also think, don't leave the battlefield. Stay with us.
What about targeting international students at universities? Again, I'm okay with that. I think that's what they should be doing.
I do think that when it comes to tax and raising money, you should look first to those coming into the country because they kind of have a choice about it, and it has to benefit Brits. Absolutely, international students, but a lot of universities have been so badly managed. They depend on international students now, and less Brits are getting places. And I think all the failing universities out there should change themselves into academies for construction workers, plumbers, electricians, and Brits get placed first on the list because, Brits are looking at these budgets and tax rises, and a lot of them are thinking, it's not for us. The houses Labour are promising to build 1.5 million, they're not for us. The taxes going up, are they going to benefit us? No. You've got cities worth of the size of Bristol coming in every year, and so they don't see any benefits being focused on Brits being first on the housing list, first in the job markets. And I think that social contract has been absolutely ripped up by Labour. And as far as the economy is concerned, I think we are going to go into a bit of a spiral. And I think it will scare the markets massively, what Labour are proposing to do. You can't have a £40 billion black hole like Reeves, screams about all the time and then keep spending. And scrapping the 2-child benefit right now, that's costing $3.5 billion. This is what they're suggesting. I think is madness, absolutely madness. Why now? Why, when we are in desperate need of minimising public spending, is Labour doing this? It's like being controlled, ruled over by a circus of ideological morons and permatine socialists, and they're totally and completely out of their depth.
Do you think we should take a leaf out of America's book? They've got their own problems with the black market, but in terms of jobs, they have to employ try and employ an American person first before it goes to someone who's not American. I think we should have that kind of ruling over here.
We should have always had it. I actually think it was Boris that scrapped that when he got into power. I know there's still love out there for Boris, but when you actually look into what he did, he didn't just completely change the fabric of the country with mass open border immigration, but he took away things like, for example, under Theresa May, students had to wait at least, I think it's 2 to 5 years before they could, seek benefits as students when they were working. And Boris took that, made that absolutely, erased that completely. He's definitely caused a lot of damage to how we see immigration and how it benefits Brits. But I'm very concerned we don't have anyone capable in Westminster. You know, in 2010, do you remember when Labour left the note for the Tories saying, "Oh, sorry, there's no money left. Good luck."
Yeah.
I tell you what, when Labour leave at the next election, they'll leave a note saying, "Sorry, no country left. Good luck," and Reform are going to have to pick up the pieces. That's how dangerous they are. Labour are a danger to the economy.
With this budget, who is being rewarded? Who is going to benefit from this?
Well, let me think about it. Definitely those who want large families. Apparently, the Financial Times was reporting some large families could be up to grab £20,000 more a year from scrapping the two-child benefit cap. And of course, British-born parents, they average out about 1.4 child per family, but it is migrant families that have more children. So I think from a Brit's point of view, they're kind of seeing who will benefit and who won't, and it's just not fair on the taxpayer to supplement other people's decisions to have bigger families. The way you increase birth rates in this country is tax breaks. I mean, I don't want to go full Hungary and completely banish income tax for women who have 4 children or more. I mean, it's quite a good idea. I mean,
it works in several countries.
But does. I don't think it's fair on British families having to fork out for those who choose to have much, much larger families. Just live within your means, and let's make the housing supply better. Young people now don't want to have big families because there's no big houses they can afford to move into. So there's lots of reasons why people aren't having children. I think the scrapping the child benefit cap is crazy.
All right.
And do you know what else it goes to? Just quickly, which is really funny. They're using this. So apparently, Rachel Reeves is going to give 1.5 billion to subsidise electric vehicles. That's what's coming up in the budget as well.
Right.
So no more prisons. Hospitals are crumbling, but that's what they're going to give money to.
Yeah. Terrible.